1,000 bikers from 5 states surrounded a loan company, trapping hundreds of panicked employees inside. The police were present but powerless. They weren't there to protest. They were there for Grace. A nurse, a collection agent, had ruined that morning. What he didn't know was that the woman whose life he destroyed was the same woman who had saved the Hells Angels leader's daughter the night before. And now, the club was there to pay her debt. Before we dive deeper into a story that will shake your faith in the system but restore it in humanity, I need to know, where are you watching this from? What corner of the world are you in right now? Drop your city and your country in the comments below. Let's see how far this beacon of hope can truly travel. Your voice matters. Help us get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. God bless you for joining the family. This is Grace Washington. She's 28 years old and she is a nurse in Gary, Indiana. But she's not just a nurse. She is the fragile, beating heart of a public clinic drowning in budget cuts and apathy. She works double shifts, her eyes etched with a permanent exhaustion, but her smile is a defiant sunrise for the patients the system has long since forgotten. She is a warrior in bleached white scrubs, fighting a war of attrition against sickness and despair, armed only with compassion and a dwindling supply of gauze. She sees the forgotten, the uninsured, the desperate, and she offers them the one thing the bureaucracy cannot: dignity. She is, in this crumbling corner of the Rust Belt, a lifeline. Grace's path was forged in fire. She didn't choose nursing as a career. She chose it as a calling, a response to a personal tragedy. She watched her own mother, consumed by a brutal illness, be treated not as a person, but as a case file. She watched her mother navigate the cold, sterile maze of an indifferent healthcare system, gasping for breath while clerks argued about copays. When her mother died, buried under a mountain of medical debt, Grace made a vow. She swore she would be the advocate her mother never had. She would be the human element in the machine, but the machine demands its pound of flesh. Grace's vow came with a price tag: $210,000 in student loan debt. This number is not just a debt. It is a monster that lives in her cramped apartment. It is a suffocating weight that dictates every second of her life. She lives on instant ramen and hope, skipping meals to send what little she has left to her aging grandmother. Her car, a '99 sedan with a cracked windshield, often fails in the brutal Indiana winter, forcing her to walk miles to the clinic before dawn. She is drowning silently in the very system she pledged to heal. The setting is Gary, Indiana, a ghost of American industry. The air itself smells of cold metal and quiet desperation. The skyline is a jagged row of dead factories, monuments to a forgotten prosperity. Grace's clinic is a tired brick building, huddled against the wind, where the fluorescent lights buzz and flicker with the same strained energy as the people in the waiting room. This city doesn't just tolerate hardship, it breeds it. It's a landscape of faded glory and profound systemic neglect, a place where it's dangerously easy to be forgotten, and even easier to be crushed by the weight of good intentions. Here, the atmosphere is one of profound, systemic abandonment. We see Grace not just at the clinic, but at her only refuge, the Hoosier Comet Diner. It's a 24-hour beacon, its neon sign flickering defiantly against the sleet-covered streets. This is where she goes after a 16-hour shift, sitting in a cracked vinyl booth, nursing a single cup of black coffee. It is in this diner, under the humming lights, that her world of sterile uniforms and crushing debt will collide with an entirely different universe, a world of chrome, leather, and uncompromising codes of honor. She is a solitary light in a landscape of encroaching shadows. The contrast defines her existence. Her scrubs are immaculately clean, a stark white against the grime of the city. She is a symbol of purity, of order, of healing. But that uniform is a fragile armor. Underneath, she is trapped. She is the quintessential American contradiction, an essential worker, hailed as a hero during every crisis, yet she is one missed paycheck away from homelessness. She is the caregiver who has no one to care for her. The system doesn't just ask for her service, it demands her sacrifice, and she is stretched to the breaking point, held together only by her oath. Her solitude is a tangible thing. She has no partner, no siblings nearby. Her grandmother, the one family she has left, is the one she supports, not the one who can support her. Grace faces the predatory loan corporations, the failing infrastructure, and the crushing emotional toll of her job, completely, devastatingly alone. She is a single soldier holding a line that has already been overrun. The forces arrayed against her aren't just powerful, they are institutional. They are the way things are, and she is just one small, tired woman trying to stand against an avalanche. This is the central tragedy. Her goodness is her vulnerability. She could quit. She could declare bankruptcy, abandoning her patients and her oath. She could become as cold and indifferent as the system she fights. But she won't. Her compassion is absolute. It is the one thing that hasn't been repossessed or garnished. She still holds the hands of dying patients. She still buys formula for new mothers out of her own empty pockets. This unwavering, irrational purity is what makes her a target, and it's what will, in one desperate moment, trigger an earthquake. Grace Washington is the innocent. She is the protagonist. She is the pure soul in a world that has mistaken kindness for weakness. She is completely unaware that her quiet suffering has put her on a collision course with a force of nature she cannot possibly imagine. The system believes it has her cornered. The system is about to find out how catastrophically wrong it is. Her goodness is the catalyst for the storm, a quiet prayer about to be answered by a roar of thunder. It happens at 3:17 a.m. The Hoosier Comet Diner is a small island of light in an ocean of freezing black rain. Grace sits in her usual booth, her shift finally over. On the table in front of her is a thin, white bank envelope. It contains $500 in crumpled, hard-earned cash. This money is not for rent, is not for food. It is the blood money she scraped together to pay Agent Harris at Solara Loan Servicing. The $500 good faith payment to stop the 48-tower wage garnishment clock that is set to expire in the morning. It is her last shield. The diner door flies open with a violence that makes the coffee pot jump. A wall of cold air and sound slams into the room. He enters. He is not a man. He is a monument to intimidation. 6'5", 300 pounds of leather, denim, and muscle. His beard is a tangled mat. His face is a roadmap of hard miles, and his knuckles are scarred. He is the physical embodiment of every warning a parent ever gave a child about strangers. He is the man society crosses the street to avoid. The narrator knows this man. They call him Roadblock. He's a member of the Hells Angels. But the most prominent tattoo on his face, the teardrop under his left eye, isn't for a kill. It's for his brother lost in Fallujah. This man is not just a biker. He is a Marine Corps veteran, a man who has seen the very worst of the world and survived by adhering to a code far stricter than the one written in law books. Tonight, however, he isn't wearing his club cuts. He is just a father, and he is terrified. In his massive arms, he carries a small, limp form wrapped in his leather jacket. It's his daughter, Lily, 7 years old. Her face is pale, her lips tinged with a terrifying blue. She is making a high-pitched whistling sound with every labored breath. It's a severe asthma attack or perhaps pneumonia spiraling out of control. Her inhaler is empty and his truck broke down 2 miles back. He ran here, to the only light he could see, his heart hammering against his ribs with a terror he hadn't felt since combat. He stumbles to the counter, his voice a desperate roar that shakes the sugar packets. "Help me! My kid, she can't breathe." The teenage kid behind the register throws his hands up, eyes wide with fear. I don't have a phone, man. I just work here. Don't hurt me." The cook in the back ducks out of sight. The world's fear of Roadblock, his appearance, his reputation has just rendered him completely helpless. The system, even at this micro level, fails him. Fear has paralyzed kindness. But Grace Washington doesn't see a biker. She doesn't see a threat. She is a nurse. She sees hypoxia. She hears the stridor. She is on her feet, moving toward him before her brain has even processed the danger. She is no longer a debtor, no longer tired. She is a healer. She's in command. She's in respiratory distress, Grace says, her voice cutting through his panic with pure medical authority. "You need to get her to the ER. Now. She's not getting enough air." "I can't." Roadblock chokes out, his composure shattering. "My truck's dead. My wallet's gone. I lost it on the run. I have no money, no cards, ... He is a giant, brought to his knees, begging the world for help, and the world is cowering in the corner. He looks at Grace, his eyes pleading. "Please." I don't know what to do. He is a father watching his child die. This is the moment, the pivot. Grace looks at the $500 envelope on her table, the money that will save her job, her license, her apartment. It is her entire future. Then she looks at the blue-lipped child. For Grace Washington, there is no choice. There is only the oath. She grabs the envelope. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't pull out a 20. She shoves the entire envelope, all $500, into his massive, tattooed hand. Roadblock stares at the cash. His mind cannot compute the action. This is Gary. This is the diner at 3 a.m. This is survival money. He knows exactly what this money represents. It's rent. It's the electric bill. It's the difference between eating and starving. He tries to push it back. "I can't. This is everything. I can't take your money." He is stunned, confused. Grace puts her hand over his, forcing him to close his fist around the cash. She looks him dead in the eye, not with pity, but with an order. "I'm a nurse. Your daughter's life is not negotiable. That money is for her. It will pay for the ambulance or the ER intake. Go. Now. Do not wait. Save your daughter." Her voice doesn't waver. She is the authority. She is the light. The impact on Roadblock is seismic. It is a physical shock. His entire life, the world has judged him on his appearance, on his leather, on his patches. The world sees him as a monster. But this small woman in her white scrubs didn't even flinch. She saw a father in need, and she sacrificed her own shield to protect his child. It is an act of such pure, selfless kindness that it short-circuits his entire understanding of the world. He doesn't know what to say. The words "thank you" feel like dust, utterly inadequate. He just nods. his throat tight with an emotion he hasn't felt in years. He clutches the money, scoops up his daughter, and bursts back out into the freezing storm, a man saved by an angel who just handed him her own wing. Grace watches him go. She turns back to her table. The empty, cold coffee cup, the vacant booth, the envelope is gone. Her shield is gone. She is now completely, totally defenseless. The 48-hour clock is still ticking. She sinks into the vinyl booth, the weight of her sacrifice and her impending doom settling over her. She gave away her future. She sacrificed her last line of defense against the predatory machine of Solara Loan Service. She did it without a second thought because it was the right thing to do. She saved a life, but in doing so, she has, by all practical measures, just ended her own. The system has no room for this kind of purity. The narrator leans in. What would you have done? In that moment, with your own ruin staring you in the face, would you have made that choice? Grace Washington did. She chose compassion over survival. And that single choice made in the desperate quiet of a 3 a.m. diner has just pulled the pin on a grenade. The sacrifice is complete. The stage is set. Grace has performed an act of pure, unadulterated good. Now the world will show her exactly what it does to angels. She is alone, broke, and the villains are circling. The pure goodness of her heart has just sealed her fate. To understand the depth of her sacrifice, we must first understand the monster she was trying to appease. We must rewind the clock. Just 24 hours to a phone call that set this entire tragedy in motion. The call came from a sterile high-rise office in suburban Indianapolis. It came from Solara Loan Servicing Corp., an entity that doesn't deal in compassion, only in compound interest. The voice on the line belonged to Agent Harris, a senior accounts manager. Harris is the modern villain. He wears a tailored suit, a polite smile, and carries a heart of pure, calculated ice. Harris loves his job. He doesn't see Grace Washington, the nurse. He sees account 449B, a delinquent asset. He sees a number on a spreadsheet, and his job is to extract that number by any means necessary. He speaks with a practiced, condescending tone of disappointment, a tool he uses to belittle and break his targets. He is a predator who hunts with spreadsheets and automated emails, and he enjoys the kill. Mrs. Washington, he had purred, I'm so disappointed in your lack of commitment to your obligations. You leave us no choice. The threat was specific and brutal. Harris informed her that Solara was done with chances. He demanded a good faith payment of $500 within 48 hours, not 48. If this payment is not posted by 9 a.m. Friday, he continued, his voice dripping with false sympathy, we will be forced to activate full wage garnishment. I'm sure you understand what a 25% lien will do to your take-home pay, and what your hospital's board will think when they see it. It would be _shame to jeopardize your nursing license over such a small amount. Grace didn't just accept this, she fought. She tried to use the correct channels. We see her days before on hold with the Department of Education, trying to navigate the labyrinth of the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. She spent hours, her one day off, being transferred from one board bureaucrat to another, only to be told she had the wrong type of consolidated loan and was ineligible. The program, designed to help people exactly like her, was a fortress of red tape, and she was locked outside. She tried the hospital. She met with the HR administrator, a woman in a sharp blazer who listened with a strained plastic smile. Grace explained her situation, her double shifts, her perfect record, the predatory nature of the loan. She begged for an advance, for legal aid, for anything. The administrator slid a pamphlet across the desk. We value your wellness, Grace. Perhaps this webinar on financial budgeting would be helpful. It was a slap in the face, a systemic abandonment disguised as corporate concern. She even tried the bank, her local branch. She sat across from a loan officer, her hands trembling as she explained her debt-to-income ratio. The man didn't even try to hide his disdain. He looked at her $210,000 student debt, her meager nurse's salary, and chuckled. Ma'am, with all due respect, you are unlendable. Your ratio is catastrophic. There is nothing we can do for you. He dismissed her as if she were a child asking for cash. The police were not an option. What was the crime? It was legal. The loan documents she signed at 21, full of hope and naivety, were a binding contract. The system wasn't broken. It was designed to do this. It was built to protect Harris and his corporation, not Grace and her patients. The institutions that were supposed to be her safety net, her government, her employer, her bank, had all failed her. They had looked her in the eye and told her, you are on your own. This is the context of that $500. It wasn't just money, it was the truce. It was the sand in the hourglass. It was the one tiny shield she had left. She had pawned her mother's last piece of jewelry, a simple gold locket, and worked a 24-hour shift to scrape that cash together. It was the only thing standing between her and utter ruin, and she had given it without hesitation to save a stranger's child. Now we return to the present. It is 8:55 a.m. on Friday. Grace is sitting in her rusted-out car in the clinic parking lot, the phone shaking in her hand. The 48-hour deadline is 5 minutes away. She has nothing. She dials the number for Solara, her stomach in knots. She gets Harris on the line. She starts to beg. Mr. Harris, Please, I had the money. I swear I did. But there was an emergency. A little girl was sick. She couldn't breathe. Double. Quotes Harris, cuts her off. His voice is no longer polite. It is triumphant. An emergency? This is Washington. That is the oldest, most pathetic excuse in the book. Your personal dramas are tragically and predictably irrelevant to your financial obligations. He is savoring this. He is enjoying the sound of her breaking. He is the spider, and she is the fly. The deadline, he continues, and she can hear him smile, was 9 a.m. It is now 9:01 a.m. Grace's heart stops. The payment was not received. As promised, the wage garnishment has been electronically filed with your employer's payroll department. We will be taking 25% of your pre-tax income starting with your next paycheck. Have a _wonderful_ day. The line clicks, followed by the deafening silence of the dial tone. A single silent sob escapes Grace's chest. It's over. She's ruined. 25% isn't a cut. It's an amputation. She can't pay her rent. She can't pay her car insurance. She can't afford gas. She will lose her apartment. She will lose her job. The nursing board will review her license. The system, the one she sacrificed everything for, has finally and completely devoured her. She slumps over the steering wheel, her body shaking. This is the reward for her goodness. This is the price of her compassion. She saved a life last night, but in doing so, she was forced to sacrifice her own. The darkness she has been fighting for her patients has finally closed in and extinguished her light. She is alone, broken, and defeated. The failure of the system is absolute. It is not just indifferent. It is actively malicious. It is a machine that punishes kindness and rewards predation. Harris, the villain, sits in his comfortable office, sips his coffee, and moves on to his next victim, completely secure in his legal victory. He has successfully destroyed the life of a frontline hero. Grace just sits in her car, the tears streaming down her face. She stares at the entrance to the clinic, the place she loves more than anything, and knows she can't go in. She can't face her patients. She can't face her colleagues. She has nothing left to give. The desolation is total. The narrator watches this. We see this quiet, devastating moment. The system has failed. The hero has fallen. A moral vacuum has been created. And it is in this vacuum, in this moment of total despair, that something else must intervene. The safe institutions have proven useless. It is time for a different kind of justice. The trap has sprung. Grace is caught. The story, it seems, is over. But the narrator knows better. The $500 she gave away wasn't just a payment. It was an investment. It was a beacon. And it was just answered. But an act of this magnitude, an act of pure, selfless sacrifice, does not simply vanish into the void. It creates an echo. It creates a debt. And in the world Roadblock comes from, debts are not paid with thank you cards. They are paid in blood, in loyalty, and an overwhelming seismic force. Across town, in the pediatric ICU, Lily is stable. The $500 Grace gave him covered the emergency intake and the first round of life-saving antibiotics. His breathing icily, her color returned. Roadblock hasn't slept. He sits by her bed, clutching the empty white bank envelope. He is a man haunted by a code. It's the code of the Marine Corps and the code of his club. You do not leave your people behind. You do not let an attack go unanswered. And you never ever let a debt of honor go unpaid. This nurse ... this small woman with eyes of steel ... She didn't just give him money, she saved his bloodline. She saved his entire world. He owes her his daughter's life. He has to find. He has to make it right. He leaves his daughter with his ex-wife at the hospital and rides his Harley back to the Hoosier Comet Diner. The morning waitress is there, and she's not afraid of him now. The nurse, he growls, his voice thick with emotion. The one who was here last night. The waitress smiles. Oh, you mean Grace. She's an angel. Works over at the free clinic on 5th. She's there now, probably. He nods once, gets back on his bike, and rides. He finds her, but it's not the angel he expects. He spots her beat-up sedan in the clinic parking lot. He sees her inside, slumped over the steering wheel. This isn't the strong, authoritative woman who commanded him in the diner. This is a broken human being, her body shaking with the force of her sobs. Roadblock's blood runs ice cold. He knows this kind of despair. This is the look of someone who has hit rock bottom. He taps on the window. She flinches violently, her eyes red and swollen. She sees him, and the last of her composure shatters. Through her gasping tears, the story tumbles out. The $500, the loan shark, the 9:01 a.m. deadline, the garnishment, the ruin, they ... They took my job, she whispers, which is what it feels like. I lost everything because I helped you. She isn't accusing him. She's just stating the terrible, simple fact. Roadblock doesn't speak. He just stands there, the rain starting to fall again, mixing with the tears on her face. A cold, quiet, focused rage builds in his chest, a rage he hasn't felt since his last tour. The $500 she used to save his daughter was her _own_life raft, and these underscore vultures underscore dot 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 were punishing her for it. They were destroying an angel for the crime of being good. This was not just an injustice. This was a declaration of war. He gets back on his Harley. He doesn't ride home. He rides to an old, unassuming VFW Veterans of Foreign Wars post on the outskirts of Gary. This is the local Hells Angels clubhouse. He walks in and the midday drinkers go silent. His face is a mask of thunder. He slams his massive fist on the oak bar and the bottles rattle. A civilian, he roars, his voice cracking, saved Lily's life last night. She gave me her last $500. Her underscore last underscore. He pauses, his eyes scanning the room, meeting the gaze of every man there. And now, the loan sharks who were hunting her are garnishing her wages. They are destroying her because she saved underscore my underscore kid. A silence, heavy and absolute, falls over the room. These are not lawyers or bankers. These are veterans, outcasts, and men who live by a different, harder law. They understand honor. They understand debt. They are attacking one of our own, Roadblock says, his voice now dangerously quiet. She's family now. I'm making the call. Code red. This is not a request. It's an activation. The call goes out, not just to their chapter, but to every charter in the Midwest, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. The message is simple, relayed through texts and encrypted calls. A debt of blood is owed. An innocent is being hunted. We ride. All of us. Now the next morning, a crisp, bright autumn day in the wealthy suburbs of Indianapolis. The glass and steel high-rise of Solara Loan Servicing Corp. gleams in the sun. Agent Harris is in his corner office, sipping a $12 latte, admiring his view. He's already forgotten Grace's name. He's moved on to his next target. He hears a sound, a low, distant rumble. He figures it's construction or perhaps a thunderstorm rolling in. But the sound doesn't fade. It grows. It becomes a physical underscore feeling. Underscore. The water in his cup begins to vibrate. The pens on his desk rattle. The double-paned glass of his window begins to shake, humming like a tuning fork. It's not a storm. It's an earthquake. A man-made earthquake. He stands and looks out the window. His $12 latte drops from his hand, splattering across the pristine carpet. The street is gone. The four-lane boulevard, the manicured lawns, the parking garage, all of it has vanished. It has been replaced by a river, a surging, endless, thundering river of black leather, polished chrome, and steel. It's not 100 bikers, it's 1,000. 1,000 Harley-Davidsons rolling in perfect, disciplined formation, an army of righteous fury. They block every intersection, every driveway, every exit. They come from 5 states, the Hells Angels, the Vagos, the Pagans, the Outlaws. Even rival clubs putting aside their differences for this one singular purpose. They are a sea of patched leather, a phalanx of grizzled veterans and hardened men who have answered the call. They form a silent, intimidating perimeter around the entire office building. 1,000 engines idling in perfect, menacing unison. Panic erupts inside the building. Secretaries scream and dive under their desks. Managers in tailored suits soil themselves, hiding in bathrooms, dialing 911. With trembling fingers, they believe they are under attack. They believe they are about to be murdered. Harris, his face as pale as a ghost, is flattened against the wall of his office, his mind unable to process the scale of what he is seeing. The police arrive, 4 squad cars. They pull up a block away, see the 1,000-man army, and simply ... stop. The officers get out, but they don't move. They are massively, laughably outnumbered. They just stand there, radios crackling, completely powerless. The system's protectors are reduced to mere spectators. Then, a new sound, silence. As 1,000 engines cut out. The sudden, heavy quiet is more terrifying than the noise. 1,000 kickstands click onto the pavement. 1,000 men dismount. They do not shout. They do not vandalize. They simply stand, a silent wall of judgment, staring at the building, staring at Harris's window. The narrator leans in, his voice a whisper. This is the moment the bully, safe in his castle, realizes the moat has been breached. This is the sound of a debt being called in. What you're seeing isn't chaos, it's underscore order underscore. It's a different, older, and more profound kind of justice. It's the justice of the tribe, of the family, of the code. What you're feeling is called catharsis. It's the beautiful, terrifying realization that the monsters are not always who we think they are. Sometimes, the monsters are the ones who hunt the real monsters, and they have arrived. If you believe that power should never protect predators, if you believe that the suits in the high-rises should be held accountable for the lives they destroy, underscore smash that like button. Underscore your engagement right now proves that people care more about real justice than they do about legal technicality. Show them. The glass lobby doors of the Solara building slide open. Roadblock enters. He is flanked by 10 chapter presidents, men who look like they were carved from granite and bad intentions. He, is wearing his full cut, his Hells Angels patches displayed like a general's uniform. He walks past the terrified security guard who doesn't even try to stop him. He calmly presses the elevator button for the 3rd floor. He's here to see Agent Harris. The collection has begun. Agent Harris is hyperventilating behind his locked office door when the elevator dings. The sound is as loud as a gunshot in the terrified silence of the 3rd floor. He hears the heavy, measured footsteps. They stop. Outside his door, there's no knock. A single, leather-booted kick shatters the lock and the door swings open. Roadblock fills the doorway, flanked by his entourage. They file in, filling the opulent office with the smell of road grime, gasoline, and raw leather, overpowering the scent of Harris's expensive cologne. Harris scrambles backward, tripping over his $2,000 office chair. "This is trespassing," he squeaks, his voice a pathetic treble. "I'm calling the police. I'll have you all arrested." Roadblock just smiles, a cold, dead smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "They're busy," he says, his voice a low gravel. He walks to the desk and, with one fluid motion, sweeps the laptop, the family photos, and the latte-stained blotter to the floor. He slaps Grace's garnishment notice down on the bare mahogany. "Account 449B, Grace Washington. We're here to settle her account." Harris, emboldened by a flicker of his old arrogance, scoffs. "Settle? You ... people ... Have any idea what she owes?" "You can't just intimidate ... double quotes. He tries to log into his backup terminal, his fingers fumbling. "Her total balance ... with penalties is $210,450.18. Now get out of my office before I ... Roadblock cuts him off. "Is that all?" he asks, almost sounding disappointed. He turns to the men behind him. He says it's only 210 grand. He snaps his fingers. Two of the largest bikers, men who look like they wrestle bears for fun, step forward. They are carrying a heavy, canvas military surplus duffel bag. With a grunt, they heave it up and dump its contents onto Harris's desk. It is a mountain, a literal mountain of cash. 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s, hundreds. It's the collected bar tabs, the emergency funds, the personal savings of 1,000 men, scraped together in less than 24 hours. "That," Roadblock says, "is the $450. Harris stares, his mouth open, his brain completely broken. He has never seen this much actual currency. Before he can speak, Roadblock places something else on the desk. A single, crisp cashier's check, drawn from the Fallen Brothers and Family Veterans Fund. The check is made out to Solara Loan Servicing Corp. The amount, $210,000.00. And that's the rest. Roadblock commands, count it, all of it, and then you're going to process it. _now_. This is the true cathartic humiliation. Harris, the man who destroys lives with the click of a mouse, is forced to work. He and his terrified team, under the silent, watchful gaze of 20 patched-in bikers, are forced to spend the next _2 hours on their hands and knees, counting, stacking, and verifying every single crumpled bill. Their tailored suits are covered in the grime of money that was _earned not extorted. They are forced to touch the reality of the community they tried to bleed dry. Finally, shaking, his arrogance completely shattered, Harris returns to his terminal. He processes the payment, the cash, the check. He types in the final command. The screen flashes green, the most beautiful color Grace will never see. Paid in full. Roadblock leans in, his face inches from Harris's. Print the receipt, the paid in full letter, and print the official letter of lien release confirming zero balance. I want it stamped. I want it signed. By you. Minutes later, Roadblock walks out of the building. 1,000 men are still there, a silent audience. They've brought Grace from the clinic. She's standing by the curb, confused, terrified, thinking she's in more trouble. She sees Roadblock emerge and she flinches, but he doesn't look angry. He walks right up to her. He holds out the piece of paper. "It's done," he says, his voice thick with an emotion she can't place. He does something she never expected. This giant of a man, this terrifying biker, drops to one knee in front of her, bowing his head. He holds the letter up to her like an offering. "You've saved my family," he says. "We don't forget that. We take care of our own. You're our family now." She takes the paper, her hands shaking. She reads the words, "Account balance, $0." She collapses. Not in despair, but in a relief so profound it's almost painful. Roadblock lifts her to her feet. "It's one more thing," he says. He points to the street. Her rusted, broken-down sedan is gone. In its place is a brand-new, reliable, dark blue SUV with a giant red bow on the hood. A nurse can't be late, and she can't be walking. This is from us, from your family. Grace just sobs, holding the letter to her chest, looking at the 1,000 faces watching her. The moral is etched in steel. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's seeing a child who can't breathe and giving away your last dollar anyway. And honors the 1,000 men who ride through the night to repay that dollar 200,000 times over. The heroes aren't the ones in the high-rises, they're the ones who show up. The 1,000 engines roar to life at once. It is not a sound of anger. It is a salute, a deafening, thundering chorus of victory for the nurse who saved one of their own, and in doing so was saved by them all. They part, letting her new car through, and escort her home, a phalanx of steel and leather, her new permanent family. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that heroes still exist. They don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear leather. And they remind us that the true measure of a community isn't who you are, but who you show up. FOR